Today on the program, you will hear from Pete Musto, Brian Lynn, and Ann Ball. Later, we will present our American History series, The Making of a Nation. But first, here is Pete Musto.
Chinese officials have temporarily banned the trade of wild animals following an outbreak of coronavirus in the central city of Wuhan. Officials noted that they will strengthen inspections and severely investigate and punish violators. The ban will continue until the epidemic situation is lifted nationwide. They also urged the public not to eat wild animal meat. Officials have confirmed at least 106 people have died and more than 4,500 have been infected with the virus. The virus is thought to have spread to people from wild animals sold at a market in Wuhan. A group of 19 well-known researchers had called for the government in China to increase inspections and to enforce strong measures against wildlife markets. The researchers come from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and the nation's top universities. Meanwhile, the New York-based Wildlife Conservation Society called for an end to wildlife markets everywhere, not just in China. Zoonotic diseases are ones that can affect humans, but they first appear in other animals. They represent a large share of human infectious illnesses. Christian Walzer is executive director of the Wildlife Conservation Society's health program. He told the Associated Press the rise of such diseases is a numbers game. If these markets continue to operate and humans continue to eat the meat sold there, then the public will continue to face heightened risk from new viruses. Researchers have not yet identified the exact source for this latest outbreak. One of the first measures Wuhan officials took was to close the Huanan seafood wholesale market, where 41 of the first infections began. John Epstein is an expert on the spread of diseases with the EcoHealth Alliance. He helped with efforts to find the virus that caused the 2002 epidemic known as SARS, or Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. The epidemic sickened more than 8,000 people and killed about 800. They linked the disease to eating the meat of wild animals carrying the virus. Epstein said researchers suspect, but have not proven, that the Wuhan virus came from bats. Bats are known to carry coronaviruses, but scientists have yet to fully understand the new virus and how it moved from animals to people. I'm Pete Musto.
A new international report says pollution remains the largest environment threat to human health. The report, by the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution, or GAHP, estimated that pollution was responsible for 15% of all deaths worldwide in 2017. The organization said the number of premature deaths from pollution reached 8.3 million people worldwide that year. That is 3 times higher than the worldwide death totals from AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. The GAHP is made up of more than 50 members, including United Nations agencies, world governments, environmental groups, and educational organizations. It seeks to raise international attention about pollution issues and help governments create solutions to fight the problem. The GAHP said that more than 90% of the pollution-related deaths occurred in developing countries. The report noted that such deaths remain a neglected issue, especially in low- and middle-income countries. The writers of the report said international efforts have helped to reduce the effects of traditional pollution sources, such as poor sanitation and smoky cooking fires. But they noted that modern pollution from cities and industrial production is increasing. The report suggests that a worldwide health crisis is, in fact, still undercounted, still under-addressed, and still under-resourced. GAHP's acting director, Rachel Kupka, said. The research follows up on a major report released in 2017 by the publication The Lancet. That report was created by an international group of university researchers, national health ministries, non-governmental organizations, the World Bank, and the United Nations. The group looked at the causes of death and disability in 4 areas: air, water, job-related risks, and lead exposure. In the GAHP report, India and China had the largest total number of pollution-related deaths. They were followed by Nigeria, Indonesia, and Pakistan. The United States was 7th. There are countries from almost every region of the world present in that top 10 list, Kupka said. We really are all impacted. It doesn't matter where you are. Pollution-related deaths per 100,000 people were highest in Chad, Central African Republic, and North Korea. India still ranked high on the list at number 10. Research has shown that pollution raises the risk of heart disease, stroke, cancer, lung disease, and other conditions. The report said pollution adds more years of disability worldwide than smoking, alcohol, and drug abuse, as well as wars and violence. The GAHP noted that its latest estimates likely represent an undercount. For example, the group did not include major pollution sources such as pesticides and mercury. Kupka says researchers will aim to center on those issues in the next pollution report in The Lancet, which is planned for 2021. The good news, Kupka said, is that controls already exist to help reduce the harmful effects of pollution. She urged officials in problem countries to recognize and enforce emissions controls for vehicles and smoke sources. She said protective equipment for workers should also be provided, as it already is in many countries. I'm Brian Lynn.
Trips to museums are part of many children's education in the United States. The American Alliance of Museums says museums receive about 55 million visits each year from students in school groups. Many U.S. school systems are most concerned about students performing well on required math and science tests. Because of this, administrators and teachers might not see the value of art-related museum field trips. This is where Jay Green comes in. He is a professor of education policy at the University of Arkansas. He and his research team are studying how attending cultural events help a student's education. The National Endowment for the Arts supports part of their research. Green told VOA that his team wanted to learn how a single trip to an art museum affects a student. For this study, he and his team looked at 11,000 students.
And we found that students who visited an art museum were more tolerant, more empathetic, and also learned a lot of content about the art they saw and developed stronger critical thinking skills about art.
Green explains that after one visit to the art museum, students averaged an 8 percentile improvement on tolerance and empathy. He calls that a moderate effect, but impressive, considering that it was after just one visit to the art museum. Melissa Reyes is with Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas. The museum has been involved with Green's studies. Since 2012, the museum has had nearly 300,000 students come to visit. It also sends teaching artists to local classrooms. Reyes said she agrees with Green's findings on the effects of museum trips. She added that the greatest effect appears to be for students in rural areas, minority students, and those who attend high-poverty schools. Green's researchers also examined how going to a live theater performance can affect students. This study involved a small number of subjects, about 1,500 students from 40 schools. The students were also older. They all lived in Northwest Arkansas. Green said his team found that students who saw a live performance experienced improvement in tolerance and empathy. A different group of students watched a movie version of the same play. Green said they did not experience the same results as those who went to the live theater. Students who saw the live performance learned the story and related vocabulary better than those who watched the movie version, he said.
So we think that there's something special about in-person cultural experiences that are different than simply digital experiences of those same stories.
Green's team is now carrying out longer-term studies in which they are following students over many years. He has already seen some promising results among students who have been visiting the Woodruff Art Center in Atlanta, Georgia.
Our most surprising result is that we saw improvements in math and reading test score performance for students in Atlanta after they went on multiple enriching field trips.